Hello, welcome back to military news. Today we're going to be talking about the evacuation of Kabul. The evacuation of Kabul had the most casualties since the early 2000s in the start of the war against terrorism. The evacuation started in 2020 when US and NATO soldiers were being pulled. But not until this year in 2020 in August, Joe Biden ordered all NATO and US forces to be pulled out of Afghanistan. In August 12th, on a report from the U.S. Senate came in saying that almost all U.S. and NATO forces were pulled, and Kabul remained as the last secured air route out of Afghanistan. On August 13, the U.S. deployed 3,000 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne Division, and the UK deployed 600 soldiers to secure the airports. On August 15 to 16, the U.S. Army CH-47 Chinooks and Blackhawks and CH-46 Sea Knight helicopters began landing at U.S. embassies to carry out evacuations of their staff. Armored vehicles were being deployed to evacuate the important people that worked there and take them to the airports. And reportedly, an attack chopper from the U.S. Army was reported firing flares in the area to defend from potential shutdowns from Taliban that were quickly moving into the cities, taking back Afghanistan. By the end of that week, a report of 5,000 uh, 5,000 U.S. and NATO troops and UK troops remained in the city. Then the U.S. allowed one, one, 1,000 more soldiers to be deployed from the 82nd Airborne Division to keep the airport safe. The panic struck among the citizens as Taliban tried to seize the capital and almost all the cities of Afghanistan. The civilians started to run to the safety of the airport, trying to catch a flight out of there. The Afghani Air Force started to fly their 24 helicopters, 22 fighters, out of Afghanistan, so they could not get into Taliban forces. But on 20 on August 26th, a suicide bomber from ISIS carried carrying a 25-pound explosive vest hidden under his clothes detonated on the front entrance of the airport, killing 13 U.S. soldiers, 11 being Marines, one Navy, and one U.S. soldier. But not just U.S. soldiers were killed in this explosion. Two British nationals were killed, and 170 Afghani civilians were killed in the bombing. Also, 28 Taliban members were also killed. 18 U.S. soldiers um, were also reported wounded and in critical condition. On August 28th, the UK and other countries started to slow down and stop their evacuations, reporting that all the citizens and soldiers were pulled out of the city. By the end of August, only the United States remained in the city. Reportedly, on August 29, a drone strike was ordered on a vehicle that was reported carrying ISIS bombers, and that drone strike was successful. But on that same day, another drone strike hit a car that had an ISIS bomber in it, or ISIS planner. But this drone strike, uh, the drone strike killed 10 civilians as they were in the house right next to the car that was targeted. Seven of those people were children. On August 30, a United States officer told that anti-missiles were being launched to intercept five rockets that were aimed into the airport. And later that evening, General Mackenzie Jr. announced that the United States completed their evacuation of Kabul. Before departing, American forces used thermite bombs and disabled several remaining counter rockets, artilleries, mortar systems, and many other things that were used to protect the cities, like helicopters, Humvees, and armored vehicles. so they could not get into Taliban hands and be used by them. By August 30, all U.S., NATO, and NATO soldiers and civilians were pulled out of Afghanistan. Just like that, the world's longest war that the United States has been in ended against the war against terrorists. The war lasted 20 years, from 2001 to 2021, and that is today's this week's report. Next week, I'll be covering the threats that China has made towards the Taliban. I mean, towards the Thailand. Thailand warning that it wants to take back the Republic of China, which is Thailand, and Russia reportedly said that it will have China's Chinese. Russia reported they had China's back if they went to war. U.S. U.S. reported they will help the Thailand soldiers if they ever went into war, and this might be the start of World War III.